Here is a strange confession. I can't look Joaquin Phoenix in the eye. And the strangest part is that it took me years to realize I had been avoiding his gaze. Thinking about it now, this sentence is one of the strangest things I've ever said on my channel. And believe me, I've said some weird things over the years. But this one lingers differently because it's a genuine discomfort that I've only recently begun to understand. I'm not sure I can fully define the point yet, but let me try. First off, look at this face. See those piercing eyes? This man has one of the most unique stares in Hollywood. When he looks at you, it feels like he knows more about you than he should. And if you still don't understand, imagine this. You're at a bar with friends and you glance at a nearby table to find this pair of eyes observing you without flinching. That's what I call a piercing gaze. I want to pause here because piercing gaze is a phrase we throw around a lot. But with Phoenix, I think it's different. Most actors with intense eyes like Daniel Day-Lewis or Cillian Murphy still allow you a way out. It's a performance, a sense that you're just watching a character. But with Phoenix's gaze, there is no exit. It feels less like acting and more like witnessing someone who has forgotten that the camera is there. Joaquin Phoenix is an Oscar-winning actor and a four-time Academy Award nominee. There is no debate about his talent. That part is undeniable. But back to my initial position. I first realized my avoidance of this gaze while watching Eddington, which is an A24 film centered on a bitter rivalry between a small-town sheriff and a town's mayor. Phoenix plays the roles of a conservative sheriff, a man clinging to tradition and order, to the way things have always been done. Now, before Eddington, I thought I was just a normal fan who occasionally skipped a Phoenix movie. But when the slap scene came on, something clicked. I realized I had been consciously bracing myself for moments like this across multiple films involving him. There is one scene that shook me more than expected. Phoenix's character gets slapped by the mayor. It's not too dramatic in a conventional sense, but it's his reaction that stopped me. There is nothing on his face, just a cold gaze at his attacker before he walks off. And in that moment, I understood why I can't hold Joaquin Phoenix's gaze for too long. Let me describe the gaze more precisely. It's something very rare on screen, a complete withdrawal into self. It's like his eyes go blank, and somehow that's more terrifying than any rage could be. You see, I believe a person's eyes tell stories, and Joaquin's eyes seem to tell many at once. A story about something permanently unsettled. The root of my discomfort lies in how he has been consistently characterized throughout his growing filmography. You see, Joaquin Phoenix excels at playing tortured men, characters at the bottom of the barrel, fraying at the edges, doing their best just to remain sane. Now, I want to add here that there is a difference between an actor who plays trauma and an actor who seems to carry trauma in every role. Think of someone like Tom Hanks. He can play suffering, but I never have to worry about Tom Hanks, the person, after seeing a movie. But with Phoenix, I find myself wondering, is he okay? That question should be irrelevant because acting is a job, but Phoenix blurs the line so completely that the question becomes unavoidable. The first time I saw him on screen was in Her, which is still one of my favorite science fiction films ever. There may be no better depiction of loneliness in modern cinema. Phoenix's Theodore Trombley is emotionally fragile, desperate and willing to search everywhere for connection. He goes on awkward blind dates, drifts through shallow sexual encounters, each of them leaving him more hollow. Then he meets Samantha, an operating system, and forms a deep bond, only to have that relationship collapse, leaving him a little bit more damaged. Watching Her recently, I noticed something I had missed before. Theodore doesn't just look like someone who is suffering from loneliness. He carries loneliness like he's accustomed to it. His body language is closed off. The way he smiles have a delay, as if he's trying to remind himself what a smile is supposed to look like before he actually smiles. That level of physical specificity cannot be faked with technique alone. Some part of Phoenix must have known that feeling intimately. Now, I know I shouldn't think this way, but it's hard not to. I believe you understand me in a while. I have seen loneliness portrayed as emotional torture many times, but this felt different. Phoenix inhabited this character so fully that he became inseparable from the actor in my mind. Even now, Her is still the first thing I think about whenever Joaquin Phoenix appears on my screen. I always find myself wondering, did he fully heal from that performance? Or do his eyes still carry it film after film, daring the rest of us to look long enough to recognize it? I know what you're thinking. What a weird position to take on someone I have never met before. Looking into a person's eyes in real life is different from doing so through a screen. And you're probably right. Maybe this is a weird thing to say, but I think you will understand me if you look into Phoenix's childhood. You see, Phoenix had a very unconventional childhood, very difficult in some ways. His parents, John Lee Bottom and Ireland Sharon, were followers of the Children of God cult for a while, though they eventually left. When I first learned this, it put many things into perspective. Someone obsessed with cults and how they operate. I already know about the Children of God, a sect from the 1970s that practiced communal living and held apocalyptic beliefs and became notorious for the sexual exploitation of minors. I won't go into details, but if you want to learn more, I recommend Nick Crowley's video titled The Darkest Kids TV Show Ever Made, one of the greatest videos ever uploaded to this platform. The way Nick tells that story, your jaw will drop until it sweeps the floor. Most child actors or Hollywood figures who come from difficult backgrounds mention it once and move on. But this trauma associated with the Children of God is just different. It was a systematic abuse machine disguised as spirituality. Children in that cult were taught that adult attention was normal, that their bodies were not their own. You will be lucky to walk away from that unscarred, and some people walk away unaware of the scars. This was the environment that Joaquin spent his early formative years, constantly moving with the cult leader before his parents left in 1977. Their experience was so terrible that years later, his elder brother River Phoenix would say, "They are disgusting, they are ruining people's lives." As the oldest of 5 siblings, River was old enough to recall how it felt growing up among people whose ideology justified sexual contact with minors. In a 1991 interview, River reportedly said he lost his virginity at 4 years while in the group, but he had blocked that out of his mind. I want you to sit with that information for a while. Blocked that out. He said it casually, as if describing a movie scene. But losing your virginity at 4, there is no universe in which that phrase should exist. The fact that it does, the fact that a child had to develop the coping mechanism so early, tells you everything about how the Phoenix brothers survived. And survival, in that context, does not mean escaping unscathed. It means learning to dissociate and to look at the world with eyes that have seen too much and shows nothing. Today, many people know Joaquin Phoenix for his incredible talent, but few understand the impact his older brother had on driving him to success. For instance, Joaquin once said he quit acting as a teenager and didn't want to return until River intervened. River came home one night with a VHS copy of Raging Bull and made his younger brother watch it. The next day, Joaquin called his agent and said, "I want to act again." Think about that film choice. Raging Bull is not a feel-good movie. It's a movie about self-destruction and the fragility of masculinity. A man who beats himself to pieces because he doesn't know any other way to exist. It's an interesting choice for a movie to show your brother, to get him back into acting. And somehow, that was the key that unlocked Joaquin's desire to perform again. To me, that tells me a lot about what the Phoenix brothers understood about art. River himself was also equally talented, so talented that he received his first Oscar nomination before turning 20, which is a very rare feat. He was the it boy of Hollywood in the late 1980s and the early 1990s, reportedly turning down roles that eventually went to younger actors like DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. Many saw him as a potential leading man with an inevitable Oscar in his future. Although he died the year before I was born, I still consider him one of my favorite actors of all time. Solely for one scene in my own private idol hall, the one where he tries to define his relationship with Keanu Reeves' character. That's one of the best acting performances I've ever seen in a single scene. Let me describe that scene for those who haven't seen it. River's character, Mike, is an narcoleptic street hustler in love with his best friend, Scott. He knows Scott will eventually leave him for a conventional life, and yet, around the campfire, Mike tries to put words to his feelings. We see him stumble as he looks at the fire, and then Scott. It's a scene that lasts maybe 2 minutes, but in those 2 minutes, River Phoenix does something that most actors never achieve in a whole career. He makes you feel the impossibility of loving someone who will never love you back the same way. And this is exactly where it goes back to Joaquin. Every time I look into his eyes, I appreciate his talent, but I'm also reminded of the great actor who guided him, the actor who will never experience because he left too soon. It's like if Heath Ledger had an insanely talented sibling who continued to excel, and each time you see them on TV, you can't help but think about Heath and all the greatness we could have witnessed if only. River died of a drug overdose outside the Viper room at age 23. The details are well known, but what is less discussed is the weight that death placed on Joaquin. He was there, he made the 911 call, he heard his brother's last breaths. Imagine carrying that audio in your memory for the rest of your life. Then imagine stepping in front of a camera and being asked to emote on command. It's a miracle Joaquin acts at all. That he acts this brilliantly is something close to alchemy. The next time I saw Joaquin after her was in Gladiator, playing Commodus, that insecure, pathetic character who will do anything to suit his bruised ego, even exploit his authority for personal gratification, even as much as trying to go to bed with his own sister. Again, acting so good, I can't seem to get that out of my head. And again, it circles back to those striking eyes. They are literally perfect for a man who is dead inside like Commodus. There's a specific moment in Gladiator that haunts me today, and it's when Commodus confronts his father, Marcus Aurelius, before killing him. There is a deadness in his eyes that is more terrifying than any villainous speech because it feels real. But I think for me, the Joker is when something broke. I vividly remember seeing Joker with a friend in 2019. I was so hyped. I anticipated the story would touch on Joker's backstory and reveal the trauma that created him. In my mind, I thought, it can't be that bad, nothing I can't handle. Then the movie started. I thought Joaquin went through it in her, but Joker showed me a different type of suffering. An hour in, my stomach began to turn. I had a visceral reaction because I was so repulsed. I came this close to leaving the theater after the stabbing scene, but my friend wouldn't let me. Then the scene from the Franklin Murray show came on and permanently broke something in me. I believe that's the moment I stopped looking at Joaquin the same way. How do you embody such a character so flawlessly and come out the same? I don't know. If that scene made me react that way, sometimes I imagine the effect it must have had on the actor himself. Let me be more specific about the stabbing scene, because it's important. What makes it unbearable is Joaquin's performance during the acting. He looks like a man having a seizure. His body, his eyes with a mixture of terror and release. We are forced to witness murder as a breakdown. And that is infinitely harder to watch because you are witnessing someone who has stopped pretending to be sane. And then came the interview scene. Otto Fleck, having been invited to a late night show, faces with the mothers on live television. He says it just as it is. When the host tries to shame him, Otto's face changes. The vulnerable broken man disappears and something else emerges on his face. By the time he's done with the murders, he looks into the camera and we know we are seeing a different man. I left that theater feeling like I had just witnessed something I wasn't supposed to see, like I had been an accomplice. Joaquin's next project, Come On, was released in 2021, but I skipped it. I was still recovering from the Joker. I didn't know it at the time, but I was simply dodging the man's eyes. I just didn't want to see them on screen because I didn't want to watch him being tortured again. I'm currently reading the synopsis of that film and it doesn't seem that bad. I will give it a try. In retrospect, skipping Come On was a mistake. From what I have since learned, it is one of his gentlest performances, a black and white drama about a radio journalist connecting with his young nephew. There are no breakdowns of violence in this one, but there is one film with Joaquin in it that I never intend to see. Ever. Bill is Afraid. The trailer alone is enough to scare me off, and the fact that Ari Aster, the king of tortured characters, has his hands in it, yeah, that's enough for me to stay clear. I had no idea that Aster was also behind Eddington before I went to see it. As a result, his film became the reason I realized I can no longer look Joaquin in the eyes. Let me expand on why Bill is Afraid feels impossible for me. Ari Aster's previous films, Hereditary and Midsommar, are not horror movies in traditional sense. It's more like rituals of grief. His stories take a single traumatic event and stretch it over 2 hours until you feel every millimeter of its weight. Now imagine giving such a director and writer Joaquin Phoenix, a man whose eyes already carry a lifetime of grief. And the trailer shows him running through surreal nightmares, being chased around, mocked and stripped of all dignity. I know myself, if I watch that film, I will be trying to crawl out of my own skin. So I don't think I would want to see it. And that's okay. Some art is not meant for everyone. And some actors ask more of you in some stories than you're willing to give. So there it is, a bizarre confession perhaps. But when an actor carries so much history in those unflinching eyes, sometimes the only response is to look away. Looking away from Joaquin Phoenix is not an insult to his talent, far from it. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I look away because he's too good, because his performances do not stay on screen alone. They follow me home. It's like they sit in my chest, making me wonder about the cost of great acting.